Tunisia's political scene witnessed a rejuvenation with new political parties running the country, with a mainstream of over 65 registered political parties confirmed by the High Authority for Elections, ranging from leftist parties such as the People's Democratic Party (PDP) to a secular party such as the Mu'tamar, also known as the Congress for the Republic (CPR), and the rising popularity of the Islamic political party, Ennahda. Tunisia, officially known as the Tunisian Republic, is also a geopolitical hub in the Maghreb region, bordered by Algeria to the west and southeast to Libya. It is a global milestone, as it is here where it is the birthplace of the revolutions in the Middle East, and also experienced its first ever free elections after the fall of ousted President Zine al-Abidine Ben Ali.
I voted and I was observing the election as well, as it was my first experience, so I had two tasks at once. And it was really amazing. What was interesting that day is that for the first time I saw people standing in lines for more than 3 and 4 hours, and they were happy and no one was nagging about that. I don't think that after all what we have done, we could do anything worse than what we had before. And I really believe that we are almost done with the democratic transition, and now we have really to implement democracy in Tunisia and do it the Tunisian way. Do not try to copy any other model. I don't think that Ennahda is an Islamist party, because compared to what we know as the standards of an Islamic party across the world, it's not even close to be like that. So I think that we should treat Ennahda just like any other political party, and everyone has the right to be afraid or to have confidence in Ennahda, but still we have to treat them as any political party.
Zaytuna Mosque, a famous Islamic epicenter, holds a special place in Tunisia and in the Islamic world, literally meaning the Mosque of Olive. The mosque is the oldest in the capital of Tunisia and covers an area of 5,000 square meters. It has 160 authentic columns, brought originally from the ruins of the old city of Carthage. The mosque is known to host one of the first and greatest universities in the history of Islam. Many Muslim scholars graduated from Zaytuna for over 1,000 years, from Ibn Arafah, one of the greatest scholars of Islam, Imam Miziri, and countless others, all taught there. Tunisia, however, has been bombarded by years of extreme secularism during former President Habib Bourguiba's regime. He was considered by the people an extreme liberalist and fought hard to uphold women's rights and secure enrollment of students at the age of 6 in preschools. However, he frowned upon Islamic ideology and refrained from Muslims from wearing Islamic clothing and practicing their Islamic norms and traditions. Tunisia is predominantly Muslim, yet most Tunisians could not roam the streets during either Bourguiba's or Ben Ali's regimes, with a full beard or any form of Islamic dress. Today, Tunisia is embarking on a new democratic Islamic phase, where Islamic political party Ennahda has won 40% of the polls and secured 89 seats in the High Constituent Assembly elections. Will post-elections in Tunisia secure a place for everyone to practice Islam, abide by Muslim traditions, and not feel the wrath of years of prosecution? Rashid Ghannouchi, who co-founded the Ennahda movement, currently the largest party in Tunisia, has been called the party's intellectual leader. The Ennahda movement, also known as the Renaissance Party, is a moderate Islamic political party in Tunisia. On 1st of March 2011, after the government of Zine al-Abidine Ben Ali collapsed in the wake of the 2011 Tunisian revolution, Tunisia's interim government granted the group permission to form a political party. A special interview with Dr. Suad Abdurrahim of Ennahda Islamic political party has secured 3 seats within the High Constituent Assembly. Dr. Suad, Tunisia has embarked on a new milestone with regards to its first ever free elections. In your opinion, how is Tunisia different today than it was during the past regime?
تونس قبل الثورة لا تقارن بتونس بعد الثورة. Tunisia before the revolution cannot be compared with Tunisia today, in which the ex-regime was an extreme dictatorship. Everyone was muted by fear and on feeling humiliated by the ex-government, took to their homes and felt a lack of dignity in contrast to an open dialogue seen on today's streets.
Ennahda, being an Islamic political party, it received a lot of negative criticism with regards to it being an Islamic and a political party. In your opinion, was it an Islamic political party or is it a political party?
The revolution was ignited by the martyr Mohammed Bouazizi in Sidi Bouzid, and everyone sympathized with his predicament and rekindled a sense of awareness. As unemployment is extremely high, even thought education was mandatory. Majority of people obtain professional degrees. The demand for work was minimal in contrast to the students who graduate with college degrees and could not obtain work that suited their credentials.
The Islamic political party Ennahda, being popular within the people and receiving 91 seats at the High Constituent Assembly, it also received a lot of negative criticism with regards to it being highly Islamic and not allowing women to work. What is your opinion with regards to it being Islamic?
Ennahda is not a fundamentalist party and has not embarked on the country with an agenda to remove citizens' rights and will not oppose women's rights and won't deny Tunisians of their rights. Ennahda's political party in Tunisia has a lot of Islamic and religious qualities, but it is a political party first and believes in a moderate Islamic democracy with regards to our society. Probably everyone's fear in Tunisia emerged on account to global Islamic movements did not portray a sound or positive image of Islamic parties, and the media usually frames Islamic political parties in a negative manner due to exaggerated frames and a lack of thorough research. Any Islamic movement which emerged before Ennahda was brewed in prison, as the ex-regime dictated that all movements Islamic was considered a threat to the previous regimes.
However, Ennahda is not the only Islamic political party present in Tunisia. Another popular Islamic movement, Hizb al-Tahrir, exonerated by the previous regimes like Ennahda, was not granted a political party clearance on October 23, 2011 High Constituent Assembly elections. But for many, people question Hizb al-Tahrir's political vision for the future, and how different are they from Ennahda's moderate approach to an Islamic democratic sphere? In your opinion, how could you define Tunisia post-elections in comparison to the ex-regime?
The Tunisian People's Revolutionary slogan was "Down with the regime," but the regime has not fallen. In fact, our ex-regime lives in exile, without justice or prosecution. In particular, the head of all corruption has fled like our ousted president, and I believe the ex-regime is still in place today.
Why is Hizb al-Tahrir different than other political parties, and could you give us examples?
Legally, we tried to register our political party, and we were denied based on the previous legislation, and the people in unison agree it is fraudulent and corrupt and dates back to 1988. We have taken a stand against the elections in the current political public sphere. In the end, they decided to organize the elections for a constituent assembly so we can agree on a new constitution, because the old one has been purged. In my opinion, I feel that the people only talked about issues of employment and bread, and no one discussed the validity of rewriting the constitution.
Ennahda has been criticized by the international community for calling themselves democratic, yet they are a mainstream of Islamic and democratic values. On speaking with their media relations spokesperson, Mr. Saeed al-Burjani, he delves deeper in digressing the new democratic paradigm that Tunisia is currently embarking on, with regards to Ennahda securing 89 seats in the High Constituent Assembly. Said Ferjani, you were quoted in other Italian agencies and international newspapers predicting that Ennahda would secure 42% of the polls and actually secure 91 seats in the High Constituent Assembly. Could you care to comment?
Frankly, for myself, at least I predicted, and I think the Italian agency quoted me, and many American media outlets, they have quoted me back that my prediction was accurate.
In the West, there's been skepticism with regards to an Islamic political party such as Ennahda winning the majority of the polls and securing 91 seats in the High Constituent Assembly. They almost talk about it as a different definition to a democratic shift. Could you care to comment with regards to this so-called paradigm?
For talking about the West, commenting about the West, I think what is Ennahda is doing. Ennahda is doing what we are focusing upon the religiosity of the country and of the people, that they are entitled to full rights and they shouldn't really be persecuted because of their faith. Because in this country we have people who are religious, they have been persecuted because of their faith, albeit that they are the majority. So this is really unusual and this is unacceptable. And of course that there are hands of some that within the equation of oppression that we have detected, and everybody knows that within Europe and within other Western countries they are there, and even some Muslim countries as well, but the West. And when I come to your question, I think there is a paradigm shift which is in the process that it should take place in the West as a whole, and we are talking to them in different panels and negotiations. I've been in Oslo recently before Eid, and I will be maybe in December, and by the end of especially in the beginning of December, whether in Rome, whether in London, whether in many other places. And we are talking about this paradigm shift, that it has to take place, that the perception of the West, they should really, instead of their destruction or our destruction, is important in order to flourish or to gain the supremacy. We are, as Ennahda, we are presenting and offering the world that there is room for a win-win situation for everybody, that they can win and we can win, and we could be diverse as we wish to be, but everybody should cherish their own identity or their own faith, non-faith, whatever, but we have to deal with each other in a peaceful way. However, so this approach that it's through wars, through really arm twisting, this imposition of anything, I'm right, you are wrong, this is the Bin Laden Bush equation, and I don't think that it has worked. And you have seen that even this financial crisis, I think it was the fallout or some elements of that war that has affected the financial crisis, and now the West is almost bankrupted in terms of money, and that look at it's China who got the surplus and is giving here and there. So there are changes. I'm describing. I'm not taking sides. So it is important really for a paradigm shift. This Muslim world is huge. This Muslim world needs and deserves respect and dignity. Democracy, it could be Western or universal or whatever you call it, but for us, we want to make a marriage between democracy and Islam, and this is our approach.
Ennahda states that it serves to provide a merger between democracy and Islamic norms within a moderate social fabric. In Tunis, the Center for the Study of Islam and Democracy is a non-profit organization based in Washington, D.C., dedicated to studying Islamic and democratic political thought and merging them into a modern Islamic discourse. The organization was founded in March 1999 by a diverse group of academics, professionals, and activists, both Muslim and non-Muslim, who agree on the need for the study and dissemination of reliable information. An interview with Professor Alfred Stefan, founder and director of the Center for the Study of Democracy, Toleration and Religion.
My name is Alfred Stefan. I'm a number of things, but I'm mainly a political scientist who's interested in the breakdown of democracy, resistance to authoritarian regimes, finally democratic transition, and even which regimes become low-quality democracies and which become high-quality. We'll call that democratic consolidation. And I've traveled, I began my life as a journalist for The Economist. It was really quite extraordinary. Of the people who were registered, it was a 90% turnout. Unfortunately, many people weren't registered, so it's not quite as good as that. However, almost everyone I've talked to, the political party activists, even those who lost, like Chevy, I said, why did you congratulate Ennahda? Because you did much more poorly than people thought you would. And he said, in a democracy, you congratulate people who are victor. And I said, does this mean you accepted the results as being free and fair? He said, absolutely, they were free. And I said, do you think that there will be elections within a year or 18 months? He said, absolutely, there will be elections within 18 months. Will you compete? Yes, and I'll do better. Now, so if the opposition who lost are confident that there will be elections within 18 months and that they can come to power and that they're going to compete, that says a lot about having moved far enough to create an electoral system. And when that was agreed, there were 146 people in the room from 12 different parties. They stood up. They are terribly different political parties, but they stood up, applauded, embraced each other, and sang the national anthem. So that shows a certain amount of consensual compromise about the rules of the game. Okay. I think it probably is useful, intellectually useful, for our mental hygiene. So I hope Ennahda will function within these rules of the game, even though it says, I mean, many people say that they're liberal parties or they're free enterprise. So people are always talking about what their values are. And we don't, it's only if people say that they have religious values that some people get nervous. And whereas I think that the history of democracy should allow some space as long as the religious parties don't violate anyone else's rights. So religion must be tolerant of democratic procedures, and democratic incumbents should be tolerant of the expression of the sentiments of people who are religious. That's what I call the twin tolerations.
Ennahda had so much publicity, bad or good, and like publicity is always good even it's bad. So like everyone knows about Ennahda, and everyone knows that like whether they're gonna vote for it or not vote for it. And eventually kind of like had like I kind of expected that it's gonna have that high percentage of seats in the parliament. I mean, every crime should be punished, should be, and like he's quite the criminal, so he, like democracy or not, he should be punished. I'm not advertising violence, but like yeah, like in a democracy environment, he should be trialed and brought to justice. And we I mean, I don't know if I can do it, but we ask like the Saudi government to just send him back here so he can be trialed, and like because a lot of people are wounded, and the only way they're gonna heal is like to see the justice takes place.
Dr. Stephen discussing how Arabs are not only Muslims and how Tunisia serves as a stepping stone to help pave way for a new democratic sphere that is the first of its kind for a new political ideology that attests towards a new Arab democracy.
The Arab uprising, it has legitimacy in the fact that it's the problem. I wrote a very controversial article 10 years ago called Arab Not Muslim. The point of that was that there are 400 million Muslims living in democracies, but no one's living in an Arab majority democracy in the world. So there's something specific about that. So there hasn't been, in the normal sense, a democracy in an Arab country that people accept as a democracy. They accept that Indonesia is a democracy. They accept that Turkey is a democracy. They accept that Senegal's a democracy, Mali's a democracy, and they accept that 160 million Muslims in India, the third largest population of Muslims in the world, are living in democracy.
On discussing how the media frames the Middle East uprisings such as the Arab Awakening or the Arab Spring, rarely do you hear the frame Islamic Awakening, and Dr. Stefan actually comments on the term.
So to say Muslim Democrats, or the specificity analytically is that this spring, and I don't mind it, I don't want to call it a revolution because I know it's not a revolution, but a spring something, we call it the Prague Spring. It's a word we've used a lot. It's something that happens in an area that's different. If Tunisia actually has a democracy, within next year, something important historically would have happened. It's not important for Turkey. It's not important for Indonesia. It's important for the Arab world. So I don't mind it because the exceptionalism was not Muslim exceptionalism. The exception was Arab exceptionalism. Not forever. It just meant for the last 40 years there hasn't been one. But there's an Arab-Israeli conflict. There's oil here. There's something specific about that problem. So it would be very specific. The solution itself is going to have to be somewhat specific. And I don't think we totally miss it if we talk about the Islam uprising because, well, it wasn't we have 400 million Muslims living in democracies. We don't have any Arabs. So that's why I don't mind the word.
Tunisians recall the High Constituent Assembly for elections as a ceremonial rite of democratic passage for their country. Despite the ousted president Zine El Abidine Ben Ali, his trials in absentia, people are still optimistic with regards to their future. However, the parliament still has bridges to mend, despite opposing ideologies with regards to an extreme left-wing point of view and a moderate Islamic political ideology.
Unlike Egypt, they invited international observers, where the SCAF, the Supreme Command of the Armed Forces in Egypt, says international observers would be a violation of sovereignty. Well, 88 countries in the world have accepted international observers, including Germany, France, and the United States. So having international observers made the quality of the election, people on both sides, if people were worried that Ennahda was going to cheat and use, they were reassured. If Ennahda was worried that secularists, who were the majority in many of the state institutions, would not give them they were reassured. And they're both reassured that there'll be another election. So I think it was an historic election.
Yes, of course, I voted. So it was a really excellent day. It looks like a wedding or national carnival. It was a really amazing day to see people that didn't vote for more than 40 or 50 years. So the vote were organized, no problems, no troubles. It's really awesome. So it was the case of the election of 1989 with its popular political party with its Islamic background. So it's not a surprise at all. Around only 1 million voted for Ennahda, for around 7 million. Yes, so optimistic. Most of the people forgotten Ben Ali and his regime. Just some who were really persecuted, killed, or tortured. So they wanted him back, but the rest of the majority has forgotten Ben Ali. So I hope that I see him one day in process, a fair process.
Tunisia is embarking on a new milestone where secularization is losing its momentum and embracing new power-sharing sessions of democracy within a moderate Islamic lifestyle which tries to represent all citizens' rights.
A coalition between Islamic norms and democratic values are resonating towards a brighter Tunisian future, which will try to solve unemployment woes, social benefits and economical distress. And if new government fails to secure what they vow to do, the people have complete faith in their new electoral system and know that they can vote in a year's time if they are not pleased with the current political party coalitions.